Welcome, everyone. Imagine leaving a human newborn alone in a forest. Without constant protection, feeding, and warmth, the baby simply would not survive. In the wild, many animals face a similar dilemma when they reproduce. Today, we are going to explore the fascinating world of parental care in amphibia. We will discover how frogs, toads, and salamanders make incredible sacrifices to ensure their offspring survive in harsh environments. Let us dive into this amazing evolutionary journey. Now that we have introduced the topic, let us understand what parental care actually means in biology. Parental care is defined as any behavior exhibited by a parent that increases the chances of survival of its offspring. However, this comes at a significant cost to the parent's own energy and future reproduction. For amphibians, this care is absolutely crucial. Why? Because amphibians lay anamniotic eggs, which lack a hard, protective shell and are highly prone to drying out or being eaten. To protect these vulnerable eggs, parents engage in amazing behaviors, from constructing protective foam nests to guarding egg clutches from predators and even transporting tadpoles to safer waters. Building on these incredible behaviors, we must ask why this concept matters so much in the study of animal diversity. Understanding parental care helps biologists comprehend the evolutionary trade-offs animals make. They must choose between the quantity of offspring and the quality of care provided. In the real world, this concept explains why certain species can survive in highly competitive or harsh environments, like tropical rainforests where predators are everywhere. If amphibians did not evolve these complex care behaviors, many species that lay eggs on land or in small temporary pools would have gone extinct long ago. It is a perfect balance of nature. To truly understand why an amphibian would spend so much energy, let us look at the mathematics of parental investment theory. This formula calculates the final survival rate of the eggs. The symbol S represents the final survival probability of the offspring, measured as a decimal between 0 and 1. S0 represents the base survival probability if the parent simply abandoned the eggs, which is usually very low. The symbol alpha represents the effectiveness of the parental care, meaning how much survival increases for every unit of energy spent. Finally, E represents the total energy or time the parent invests. When the energy investment E increases, the overall survival probability S increases, provided the care is effective. Now that we have our formula, let us see this with a concrete example comparing two species. We will focus on species B, a poison dart frog that lays only 40 eggs but provides intense care. We are given a base survival rate of 0, an energy investment of 50 units, and an effectiveness of 0.015. We are asked to find the final survival probability. We chose this formula because it directly links the parent's effort to the offspring's survival. By substituting our given values into the equation, we multiply the effectiveness by the energy investment. This gives us a final answer of 0.75. Physically, this means that thanks to the parents' hard work, 75% of the eggs will survive to become tadpoles. Having calculated the survival probability for species B, we are now setting up a mathematical proof to show why parental care is an evolutionary advantage. In this first chunk of our proof, we establish the baseline by looking at species A, a typical pond frog. This species uses a quantity over quality strategy. It lays 1,000 eggs, but provides absolutely no care, resulting in a base survival rate of just 2%. By multiplying the total number of eggs by this low survival rate, we find that only 20 offspring survive. This mathematical reasoning shows the massive loss to predators and the environment when eggs are left defenseless. This sets the stage for our comparison with species B. Now we move to the final result of our proof, connecting back to the survival rate we calculated for species B. We know species B only laid 40 eggs, but achieved a 75% survival rate due to intense parental care. By multiplying 40 by 0.75, we get 30 surviving offspring. The mathematical reasoning here is simple but profound. 30 is greater than 20. Even though species B laid far fewer eggs, the intense parental care resulted in a higher absolute number of surviving young compared to species A. The intuition behind this is that investing heavily in a few offspring can be more successful than abandoning thousands. This mathematically proves why parental care is a highly successful evolutionary strategy. So we have proven that parental care holds a massive evolutionary advantage. This brings us to an important question. What is the actual cost to the parent? Parental care is not free. It requires massive sacrifices of time, energy, and physical health. A famous example is the male midwife toad. This dedicated father carries strings of fertilized eggs wrapped around his hind legs for several weeks until they are ready to hatch. However, carrying these eggs severely reduces his mobility. Because he cannot move easily, his daily food intake drops significantly. He is literally starving himself partially so that his offspring can safely reach the tadpole stage. Let us look at how we can quantify this heavy biological cost. To quantify this sacrifice we just discussed, we use a simple set of formulas to calculate the biological cost. This formula comes conceptually from the idea that reduced mobility directly translates to lost calories. Let us break down the symbols. LD represents the daily food loss, measured in grams. The symbol I stands for the normal daily food intake of the toad, also measured in grams. Finally, R is the reduction factor, representing the percentage of food lost due to limited mobility, expressed as a decimal. Physically, if the reduction factor R increases because the eggs are heavier, or if the normal intake I is higher, the daily food loss LD will increase, putting more physical stress on the parent. Now that we have our formula for biological cost, let us apply it to the midwife toad. We are given that a normal toad consumes 5 grams of insects per day, so I equals 5. His mobility is reduced by 40%, so R equals 0.40. We are asked to find the daily food loss. We choose this formula because it directly calculates the daily nutritional deficit. By substituting our values, we multiply 5 by 0.40. This gives us a final answer of 2.0 grams. Physically, this means that every single day the father carries the eggs, he is missing out on 2 grams of vital nutrition, slowly depleting his energy reserves. Having found the daily food loss, we are now setting up the derivation for the total biological cost over the entire breeding season. In this chunk of our proof, we establish the relationship between daily loss and total loss. We introduce a new variable, D, which represents the total number of days the father carries the eggs. The mathematical reasoning here is straightforward. If you lose a certain amount of food every day, the total loss is simply the daily loss multiplied by the number of days. The intuition is that a longer carrying period exponentially increases the danger to the parent. This setup perfectly connects our daily calculation to the final massive physical toll we will calculate next. Now we arrive at the final result of our biological cost derivation. We are given that the egg-carrying period lasts for 30 days, so D equals 30. We take our previously calculated daily loss of 2.0 grams and multiply it by 30. The mathematical reasoning gives us a final result of 60.0 grams of food sacrificed over the entire month. The intuition behind this number is staggering. For a small amphibian, missing out on 60 grams of food is a massive physical toll. This final calculation perfectly illustrates the heavy biological cost of parental care, proving that the father literally starves himself to ensure his genetic lineage continues safely. Before we conclude, let us visualize these incredible adaptations we have been discussing. On screen, you are looking at 3 distinct amphibian parental care strategies. On the far left, notice the midwife toad. You can clearly see the strings of eggs wrapped tightly around its hind legs, which we just calculated the heavy cost for. In the center is the vibrant strawberry poison dart frog, carrying a single tadpole safely on its back to a new pool of water. Finally, on the right, look at the Suriname toad. This is truly bizarre and amazing. You can see fully formed froglets emerging directly from special pockets in the skin of the mother's back. This diagram beautifully teaches us the diverse and extreme physical lengths amphibians go to for their young. We have covered a lot of ground today, so let us summarize the most important ideas. First, parental care in amphibians is a remarkable adaptation that shifts the evolutionary balance from producing thousands of vulnerable offspring to raising a few highly protected ones. Second, whether it is carrying eggs on legs or transporting tadpoles, these behaviors drastically increase survival probabilities in hostile environments. Finally, as we saw through our mathematical models, the heavy physical and energetic costs borne by the parents are heavily outweighed by the benefit of successfully continuing their species. You now have a solid understanding of both the biology and the mathematics behind amphibian parental care. Great job following along.